Hey everyone, and welcome to r/IDontWorkHereLady, the place where we get to see people mistaken for employees, and get to see some hilarious results, though generally just for us and not actually OP. Prepare for a lot of screaming and a lot of fun, and with that said, let's get straight into this first one by user/Iceblade. About 2 years ago, I, male, was in the supermarket doing some shopping after work, wearing just a white t-shirt and some jeans. It wasn't that busy, so there was only one regular cash register open, with 2 or 3 people in line, and a set of like 6 self-scan registers. After collecting my basket full of groceries, I walked to the self-scan area and was finishing up scanning the last item in my basket, and had just finished putting it in my shopping bag, sitting next to the self-scan register when Karen shows up. Don't you have a policy that if the line is longer than 2 people, you open up an additional register? I'm wondering why she's complaining to me in the otherwise empty self-scan area, but decide to answer anyway. There's nobody waiting at these registers, pointing around me, so I guess that doesn't apply? Well, I don't like to be kept waiting. Okay. Aren't you going to scan my groceries, or do I have to do everything myself? I'm completely flabbergasted. I don't... She steps up to the register and starts scanning the few items she had, effectively adding them to my tab, interrupting my response with, the youth these days is so lazy, and she goes off on a long rant about how the youth is useless, I'm in my 30s, and that customer service is worthless, and how she still has the ethics she was taught as a child to work hard and whatnot. I cannot get a single word in. In the meantime, she finishes scanning her items and taps her way through the payment process without checking the final list of items on her receipt, nor checking the price and pays the bill. Finally, she takes a breath, and I repeat what I was trying to say all along. Look, I don't work here. No, indeed, you just stand here costing the company money. I've never seen a more useless cashier. At that point, my groceries were paid for by her, and I was tired of her condescension, so I just sarcastically said thanks and let her go on her way. If she really wants to pay for my groceries, and insults me when I'm trying to warn her, I'm not going to stop her. I shop at the store regularly and checked with the customer service a few days later, but apparently Karen didn't complain about her bill being significantly higher than it should have been. The customer service girl found the entire thing quite funny, and mentioned that this is one of the reasons they're called self-serve registers. She definitely served herself. Wow, that's so great. I think this is the first example of a story on this sub, if not any sub I've seen, where the person gets the karma just right away. Like, there's no build-up, there's no anything. This woman just straight up was rude and got what she deserved. This is actually awesome IP. This is one of the best ones I've seen from this sub in a while. But there are still lots more good ones to come, so let's get straight into the next one by user/Ligamentary. I worked in a large department store back before there was Etsy or any similar service for artists to open up independent shops. I worked in the back office administration piece and not out on the floor. One day, one of the checkout girls called me over and said they were trying to scan a lady out, but one of her items didn't have a barcode. I figured maybe it had been stuck on somewhere strange, but checked it out and didn't see anything. In fact, I didn't even recognize the item when I looked to see where I could find a second one to scan, and I knew the store pretty well. It was an absurdly hideous piece of almost handmade looking costume jewelry, not like anything we offered. I thought maybe we had a new supply I was unaware of, so looked at the tag, and lo and behold, it was a hand-drawn price tag, so definitely not ours. There were a lot of shops in the area, so I figured someone bought it nearby and slipped it out the bag, or they just set it down by accident. And this customer assumed we were selling it because of a price tag. I figured whoever left it would be back to look for it soon. It was way overpriced, $80 for the one necklace. So brought it to customer service and returned to business as usual of counting the minutes to close and regretting my life choices. But as the day marched on, a few more people appeared with similar stuff. Some more jewelry mostly, one with a sweater that was actually a sweater we did sell, but with huge garish rhinestones added on that were definitely not an SKU we offered. People kept coming to check out with lots of things we actually sold, like makeup mirrors, handbags, and shoes, but all with unnecessary rhinestones, sequins, and beads glued on that definitely didn't come from us or the original manufacturer. So, finally, the manager just had staff do a sweep of the store and collect anything with rhinestones on it, or anything with a handmade price tag, and put them in the lost and found. Though we did wonder how someone's personal belongings would become so scattered all throughout the store, and didn't think they could have actually been accidentally lost. Our working theory was that someone got in a fight with their shopping companion and did it out of spite, like maybe a couple broke up or a sibling rivalry or something, but we'd resigned ourselves to the fact that we'd never know. Our lost and found was a single basket about the size of a TSA security bin at the airport, and there was so much of this stuff that it overflowed past the top. So, after a couple of days, we dumped it all in the trash. A few days after that, a middle-aged woman comes in, decked out head to toe in sequins and glitter and rhinestones, with neon makeup like a 6th grader would wear to their first school dance, and asked to speak to the person in charge, identifying herself as one of your partners. I knew we were about to get some answers to the other day's mystery. I stopped all my work. I was ready to hear how and why she ended up leaving half her wardrobe scattered around, and why anyone would voluntarily dress like that after 40. So I listened to her going at it with customer service, and it became clear she'd bought things here. Maybe unclear if she'd ever paid for them or not, or if she'd just used things from here without paying for them. She then bedazzled them, either by purchasing them or covertly bedazzling in the store without buying the items. We never did find out which. She then put them back on the shelves and now expected to collect a check after they were purchased at an upsell price that she'd added on with her handmade price tag. Apparently, she'd done this in a few stores and was going around with business cards claiming her designs, bedazzled versions of department store products, were sold in big department stores like Karen's Fab Designs as seen on the shelves of Macy's, Nordstrom's, JCPenney and more. The manager explained that this was not a consignment store and she couldn't just leave altered products here for people to buy and expect to split the money with us. She was sure we must just not understand that she'd improved the items with rhinestones, thereby making them more valuable. And she was shocked when the realization set in that we understood what she was saying, but still didn't want her doing it. She was irate, offended, threatened to break off a partnership that we didn't want and didn't know we had, and eventually demanded the stuff back. The most senior manager on the floor had come over by this point, not because she'd asked to speak to the person in charge, but because she was causing a scene, and none of us were sure what to do about being on her business card. Plus, everyone, regardless of seniority, was equally curious about the rhinestone mystery. And he explained we'd gotten rid of her stuff because she didn't bother to explain this arrangement to any of us, and we weren't a pawn shop where you could hock your personal goods. A major argument ensued. She gave us two choices: go through the dumpster and salvage the things you threw out, or refund me the adjusted, read, upcharge, cost of the items you threw out. The manager gave her two choices: leave or be escorted out by security. The manager did worry that there were repercussions for throwing out all her stuff, since technically corporate policy was that we were supposed to hang on to lost and found items for 7 business days. So he offered her some coupons to end things on a good note. She didn't take them and screamed at us that we needed to replace everything and pay for new materials to redazzle them. At that point, the manager more flatly insisted she leave. She didn't. Security had to escort her out. To our total shock, she kept telling security she worked here, and really confused them because they'd never seen her. So, weren't sure if it was because she was crazy or if it was because she was from corporate, i.e. someone who could fire them. We had to explain to security and her that in fact she didn't work here and this partnership was non-existent. Again, explaining that she couldn't sell her own products here in our department store. She kept saying, "We can negotiate you a higher cut, that was just my starting offer." So after a bit, the manager just gave up explaining and stopped engaging with her. She tried to come in every day for a week after that, to the point that we had a security guard stand right near the door to redirect her before she could even step over the threshold. She got in one more time through the fire door, which set off an alarm, and we had to evacuate the store. So we let her know loud and clear that next time the police would handle her. I guess some other stores had already made good on that promise, so she stopped coming. But she kept doing this elsewhere around the town for several weeks until she was blacklisted by every store, from the highest end boutiques to the dollar store. I don't know if she didn't understand how stores worked or just didn't care, but she really created a lot of extra work for us. I will say this, many people were coming to the register to purchase her items, and that department chain is bankrupt now, so she probably has a lucrative Etsy type store and the last laugh. Yeah, look, to be honest, I really hope this woman is living a good life, making the most of these dingles, dangles, and dongles that she is creating, and that, you know, she clearly seems to have a market for them. But another thing that caught my attention was, imagine being banned from the dollar store. Imagine that. Like, in the dollar store, no one cares. Like, no one cares. Imagine being that annoying that you get banned from the dollar store. That is just a one-up on just about every I Don't Work Here Lady story I've ever seen. And here's the next one by user/Toyakatsu. So, some backstory. I was an employee at a little yet popular cafe, which we'll call Cafe X, in my rapidly developing town. Unfortunately, I got laid off due to the pandemic. Understandable though, it was tiny. I get along well with customers, some of which I know on a first-name basis. The incident occurred at another cafe, Cafe Y, where two of my friends work. One of them, Mitsu, is a barista, while the other, Kieran, was the manager. Cafe Y is way more popular than my cafe, so more people went there to get their coffee. I'd had a couple of screw-ups while I was working that day, and was really beating myself up. My manager, who was worried about me, told me to clock out early today and to relax. We all have days like this, just come back tomorrow with a smile. Honestly, I was annoyed that she didn't trust me to control myself, but she probably did the right thing. And honestly, what a great manager. Shout out to her. She is a great person. Anyways, onto the story now. I was tired and stressed out after being sent home, so I decided to go to Cafe Y in order to grab something and head home. However, I'd forgotten Kieran and Mitsu were working that day, which was a pleasant surprise. It was a slow period of the day, and the two were talking together. The moment I walked in, Mitsu joked about how rats in the store are a safety violation. She calls me a rat, it's a long story. I flipped her off, a show of affection, and asked Kieran for some tea, which he laughed and said sure. Mitsu and I sat down and talked while Kieran boiled the water for my favourite blend, green tea with mint. A lady walks in and Mitsu gets up to take her order. As I'm waiting, I noticed that the sugar at the sugar cream section was low. Wanting to help out my friends, I take the sugar out from the cabinet below, refill it, walk back to my seat, and start playing games on my phone. That was my first mistake. Obviously, the lady saw me and started ranting. The conversation went a little something like this. Wow, how professional of your co-worker there, taking out his phone in the middle of his shift. People like him don't deserve to work. Mitsu looks around, confused. Mom, I'm the only one here, can I help you get anything else? The entitled woman gives her a look like she's completely stupid. Are you making fun of me? I can clearly see your co-worker not working. She points at me. I haven't looked up, but I've been paying attention to the conversation. I speak up. Mom, I don't work here. That was my second mistake. The entitled woman turns to me and walks over to my table. Shut your mouth, you filthy liar. I saw you restock for sugar, and you shouldn't lie to customers like that. Funny thing about me, when I'm tired and off the clock, I don't take this sort of stuff from anyone. My general response is either sarcastic or condescendingly witty. Bad habit, I know. I look up at her locking eyes. Lady, I want you to take a look at the logo on her shirt and tell me if it matches up with the logo on my shirt. She blinks for a minute, looking at my shirt. Then she snaps at me. Don't you talk to me like that, you delinquent! You work here. Now I demand you get behind the counter and help me make my order. I put my phone in my pocket, letting out a sigh. I don't work here. I'm not allowed to go behind the counter. I look at Em, who nods in confirmation. Mom, he doesn't work here. She wheels around, pointing directly in Mitsu's face. Don't you cover up for him, you little bee! I saw you talking just a second ago. You're just trying to bail your friend out. This was her first mistake. I immediately get up and walk up to her. Lady, I think you need to apologize to my friend. I'm very protective of my friends, especially people like Mitsu. She can't stand confrontation like this, and often would get anxiety from this kind of situation. The entitled woman now wheels around to me, now shoving her finger in my face. Is that a threat? Are you threatening a customer? This is unacceptable. I'll have your job. At this point, Kieran comes out and places my tea on the counter. I don't know if he's been listening to the conversation or not, he just calls my order number. Immediately, the woman grabs the tea and takes a sip, assuming it's hers. Before I can tell her, she spits it all over me. What is this? This isn't my order! She pointed at Em. You're incompetent! I want to speak to a manager about you and your butthole of a friend! Then she throws it away, still screeching. This was her second mistake. It's one thing to get mad over my mistakes, it's another to accuse me of your own. Before I can even get a word out, Kieran stops me. I'm the manager here, what seems to be the problem? Entitled woman gets a triumphant smirk on her face. The rude employee has refused to take my order, and when I asked politely, he cussed me out and hit me. Then your other employee defended him while also calling me a B. She lifted her sleeve, revealing a bruise on her upper arm. Obviously from a previous injury or something, because I hadn't touched her at all. Kieran looked at me with concern. T, you did this? I can't believe you. My mouth dropped. Dude, you know I wouldn't. But he lifted his hand, stopping me. I need you to come with me. We need to discuss your status as an employee. M, don't leave either. Make her order, then come back too. He starts to look at the entitled woman. I'm sorry, but after your order is made, could I ask you to wait so I can compensate you for your awful visits? The entitled woman has the smuggest look on her face. Of course, I'm happy management here is at least competent. Kieran leads me back into the manager's office. He closes the door, then turns to me with a look of exasperation. Alright, what happened? Immediately, I realised he was on my side, and he was using his legendary theatre skills to calm the lady down. I explain the situation, and he gets super mad. Not only has this lady berated a customer, but also his employee, which just so happens to be his girlfriend. He begins to walk out, but I stop him. Call the cops. He looks at me, a questioning look on his face. I tell him my plan, and immediately walk out of the room with his approval. I walk back out and see Mitsu shaking, either out of anger or anxiety, I don't know, while the lady is berating her. I walk to her and whisper something. She nods and walks back to the office. The entitled woman eyes me with triumph, and I glare at her. I check the screen to confirm something. Yep, I've got my evidence. I sit and wait behind the counter. The entitled woman makes a couple remarks, berating me and trying to antagonize me, but I ignore her. Eventually, the police arrive. Kieran walks out with Mitsu behind him. The entitled woman's eyes widen in excitement as she realizes that her complaint is getting me in even more trouble than she originally anticipated. Kieran walks over to the officers, asks them to come with him back to the manager room, and tells the rest of us to wait in the front. Mitsu and I sit on the opposite side of the store to the lady. I check with Mitsu, she's fine, just a bit angry now. The entitled woman can barely contain her excitement about how she got 2 delinquents fired and 1 arrested. A while passes and the cops come out with Kieran. They ask for our sides of the events. The entitled woman begins first, painting herself as a victim while accusing me of verbally harassing her and assault, even going so far as to claim I touched her inappropriately. The cops come over to ask our side of the story. Of course, we tell it together because we're clearly on the same side. The cops think for a minute, then turn around. Mom, I'm placing you under arrest. She stands up, flabbergasted. I'm sorry, what? She points at me. He's the one who attacked me. Look at this bruise. She rolls up her sleeve again, exposing the bruise. The second officer with an exasperated look on her face. Mom, you do realize there are security cameras in this building, right? Her face goes white as she realizes her mistake. Kieran, Mitsu and I share a triumphant smile. We all knew about the cameras, of course. They clearly recorded her yelling at us, the lack of me hitting her, and her taking my drink as well as spitting on me. Kieran had shown them the footage when he called the cops back at my request. When she protested that she never assaulted me, I told her it's assault when you intentionally spit a drink on someone. She protested, saying she thought it was her coffee. Kieran then shows the officer the lady never finished her order as Mitsu never entered. The cops arrested her and asked if I wanted to press charges. After the last time, a lot of people told me I should have pressed charges, so I did. She was charged with verbal harassment, assault, theft, and a couple of things like disturbance of peace and etc. She was escorted off the property, screeching at us. We're awaiting the hearing, but I won't be posting about it. She likely won't make a scene, considering she seemed to recognize it was a losing battle. I texted my manager later. She asked me for a description of the lady. She even told me that she would make sure that she never sets foot in my workplace either, as that could end up messy for the restaurant. She asked me that next time to act a little more professionally, as that does reflect on the restaurant. However, she did agree that I did the right thing and asked if I got my tea. I said yes, and she asked how was it. I said it was great. It's my personal favourite. Green tea with mint and a pinch of justice. Ooh, I enjoyed recording this one. This story was lots of fun to read. I haven't gotten good practice on my Karen voice in a while. I got a little bit with the video from the day before on Entitled Parents, but this is just the cherry on top. I forget how much I enjoy screaming into a microphone. And guys, I think this post is gonna be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos every second day. But with that said, that is it for me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.